Hello and welcome everybody to a new episode on my channel. Today I'm just kind of freestyling, but I thought I would like to talk about which is the right camera for you. Is it the Leica M6 or is it the Leica M7 if you're thinking about buying one of those cameras? Both of them are great. Also, if you're thinking about buying an MP, it's pretty much the same as an M6. It just looks different. Since I have both on hand and I have used both cameras plenty, I just want to quickly talk about the differences of the two cameras, the similarities, and hopefully by the end of the video you should be able to decide which camera you want to get. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all of the new viewers. My name is Valentin. I'm an analog photographer based here in Berlin, and I also do YouTube videos related to film photography. So as in today's episode, I'm talking about cameras, I'm reviewing cameras, but I'm also giving you tips and tricks and taking you along with me on adventures abroad, but also in Germany, just kind of sharing my passion and knowledge of film photography. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my new videos. Let's get back into the program. So a couple of things. First and foremost, I have the normal Leica M6. So I don't have the Leica M6 TTL, and I also don't have the new version of the Leica M6. One of the biggest differences, or in my opinion, the biggest difference of the two cameras is the fact that the Leica M7 has an aperture priority mode. So that means you can set the shutter speed dial on auto, which most of the time I do, and then the camera selects the shutter speed according to the aperture that you selected. So you're looking through the viewfinder, half pressing the shutter button, and then inside of the viewfinder there's a little LED that shows you the shutter speed that the camera selected. Whereas on the Leica M6, when you look through the viewfinder, so you're selecting a shutter speed, let's say I'm selecting 1/125th of a second, I'm looking through the viewfinder, there's only a little arrow indicating if I'm overexposed or underexposed. So now I have to kind of manually select the right exposure. Apart from having aperture priority, this camera also has an AE lock function. So that means when you are in aperture priority mode and you're looking through the viewfinder, the camera selects the shutter speed for you, and then you're half pressing the shutter button, the camera locks in your selected shutter speed. So let's say, for example, you're shooting a subject and the subject is very backlit, so the sun is coming from behind of the subject, and you want to make sure that the subject's face is going to be well exposed. You go up to the subject, you kind of measure the light on their face, you half press the shutter button, you walk back so your exposure is locked in, then you focus and you can take a picture with that selected exposure. Obviously, you could also do the same thing with the M6. So you could go up to your subject, kind of measure the light in their face, and then go back. And even though the camera is most likely going to tell you you're way overexposed, you just take the shot anyways. Apart from the fact that the M7 has an aperture priority and also an AE lock function, the reason why it has those functions is because it's not a mechanical camera, but it has an electronic shutter. So that is the main difference between these two cameras. This camera is fully mechanical. The only thing that needs batteries is the light meter. So even when you don't have any batteries or your batteries died on the M6, you're still able to use every single shutter speed. So then you can just do either Sunny 16, or you can also use your phone as a light meter or use an external light meter. So you have a lot of options to still use this camera entirely. Whereas on the Leica M7, if this camera doesn't have any batteries, the batteries are dead, you don't have any spare batteries, what's gonna happen? You won't be able to use the camera unless you use one of these two shutter speeds right here, which are marked with this little kind of sign right here and those are the shutter speeds 1/60th and 1/125th. So these two shutter speeds are fully mechanical, meaning batteries are dead, you can still use those two shutter speeds. But you won't be able to use any other shutter speeds, you won't be able to use the aperture priority mode, you won't be able to do AE lock function, any of that good stuff. You're kind of out of luck. So you need some new batteries for that. Also something to note is if you want to kind of change your Leica, you want to have another viewfinder. I have the 0.58 magnification viewfinder. If you would like to get a 0.85 magnification viewfinder, you're only able to do that on the Leica M7 and on the Leica M6 TTL, but you're not able to get that done on the classic Leica M6. So this one has a 0.72 magnification viewfinder, which is standard. Most M7s have the same. But if you're thinking about buying your dream Leica and maybe sending it over to Leica to get the viewfinder changed, that is only able to be done on the Leica M7 and on the Leica M6 TTL. Apart from that, you also have the option to do exposure compensation, which you can see right here. I don't really use it that much, so for me it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can also do exposure compensation by changing the ISO on the M6, so I don't think it's a big deal, but it was something that I really wanted to mention. Apart from these features, in terms of the size, you can see the cameras are pretty much the same size. I think the M7 is a little bit taller, and it definitely is quite a bit heavier. It's not a huge deal, but something that I definitely wanted to mention was the fact that the M7 is a little bit taller than the M6 and a little bit heavier. One feature that I really like about this M7 and something that I'm kind of missing on the M6 is this little button right here. So when you do this, it means that the camera is fully turned off. So you're not able to use the shutter button anymore. There's no electronics, so the viewfinder doesn't show anything. And with the M6, I've had it a couple of times where I'm putting the M6 in a camera bag or in my backpack or something like that, and then the shutter trips accidentally. So I'm a big fan of the M7's possibility to just lock the shutter button. So I think both cameras are really, really nice cameras. In terms of build quality, there's no difference between the two. I think it really only depends on kind of your personal preference. Do you want to have a fully mechanical camera that you know no matter what happens you can always use it? Or do you want to have an aperture priority? So with the aperture priority, you know, taking a photo becomes a lot easier. I did a lot of research before I bought an M7. I heard that some people at least said they didn't like the shutter speeds displayed in the viewfinder so much. It was more distracting to them than helpful. And they preferred the M6 way of making sure that the exposure is on point. I personally love both cameras and I'm gonna keep both cameras. I think the M7 definitely has the advantage of being faster in terms of your photography, because I know most of the time I like my aperture, especially when I'm doing street photography and I'm out and about, at around 5.6. So all I gotta do now is just go out, have the camera activated, and then when I see something, I just have to focus. I can be even faster with my photography. But don't get me wrong, when you kind of know your exposures and you're running around with your M6, you're used to the way that the viewfinder works, you're used to the way that the light meter works. This is a camera that is also very, very easy to make photographs with. I just think on the M7, it's a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, as I said, I think it comes down to personal preference. So you want to go with something fully mechanical, or you want something that has electronics, but also has some features like an AE lock, aperture priority, the Xcode reading. That's something I forgot to mention, but yeah, it has the Xcode reading. It also has exposure compensation. So I would say it's a more modern camera. After I posted my initial M7 video, which you can watch up here, I got some comments of people saying yeah, but once the M7 breaks, it's going to be a big problem. You won't be able to use it anymore. It can't be repaired. And that is not true. I talked to people at Leica before I bought this camera because I wanted to make sure that this camera would be able to repair it. And the people over at Leica, they told me it's not a problem to get this camera fixed. It's not a problem to get this camera repaired, to get it CL8. They are working on these cameras. Maybe it might be a little bit more expensive, I don't know. But generally speaking, they said that they are very, very reliable. The shutter is very reliable. The shutter speeds are usually very reliable. And even if it were to break, they would still be able to repair it. So that is something that I definitely took into consideration, because with a camera like the Minolta CLE, for example, which is very similar to the M7 in some ways, I know that this camera, the Minolta CLE, is not that easy to be repaired. So that's why I kind of stayed away from it and went with the Leica M7. So that's it from my side. I hope this was helpful to some of you. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Otherwise, if I forgot to mention something, also let me know. I was just kind of freestyling on this topic, but I thought it might be helpful since I have both cameras at hand. And I know that some people are kind of trying to decide, do I want to buy an M6? Do I want to buy an M7? Also, if you're thinking about buying an MP, it's pretty much the same as an M6. There's not a big difference. It just looks different. And the one big difference is the fact that you have a different like rewind crank. The M6 has this rewind where you're just like spooling like this, whereas the MP has the same rewind as the M2, which is this little crank, and then you just gotta move it like this. A lot of people don't like it so much because it's kind of stiff and they prefer the rewind on the M6. But in terms of visuals, I think the MP is also a beautiful, beautiful camera. If this video was helpful to you, I would really appreciate it if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way for me. Otherwise, have a nice day, everybody. Take care and see you in the next one.